Hey guys, what's up? Happy Friday and welcome back. Thanks so much for tuning in this week for another episode of the BMuz Reviews podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Musica. As always, we're going to analyze, review, and discuss the latest news and dive into the past regarding movies, music, video games, and much, much more. If you don't already, be sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at BMuz Reviews and tune in to the BMuz Reviews podcast each week on Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcasts, and all other streaming platforms. If you're watching on YouTube, we thank you so much for tuning in. Please be sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment below, and hit the bell icon to receive notifications that inform you exactly when our podcast and all other video content goes live. If there's a question or topic that you'd like us to discuss on the podcast, send them to bmuzreviews@gmail.com with podcast, question/topic in the subject line. With all that out of the way, let's not waste any more time and get right to this week's news. Welcome everyone to the BMuz Reviews podcast. Now, our first topic today, the first Lord of the Rings trailer is set to drop on Super Bowl Sunday. Super Bowl Sunday is typically a day where all of the big blockbuster movies coming out for the next calendar year debut their first trailers, big brands debut their new products, new cars, etc., etc. It's a way for these movies and these products and these brands to get spotlight unlike any other. Millions of impressions instantly. Millions of people around the world have their eyes on their TV when it comes to the Super Bowl. And so when it comes to new trailers, it's a great opportunity to debut a first look, especially when a movie or a show is highly anticipated like Lord of the Rings. Now, with this trailer in particular, it's debuting on Super Bowl Sunday. It is not, however, debuting during the game itself. It's not going to be debuting during the commercial breaks or the halftime show or anything like that. It's going to be debuting on Super Bowl Sunday. My guess would be in the morning for the game. That's just my guess. Other trailers we could see during the game, during the commercial breaks, however, do include Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, Top Gun, Maverick. Very much looking forward to getting a first look at this series, however. They've pumped in so much money into this show, as we talked about in our previous episodes. Over $400 million has gone into the show, already working towards production and getting season 2 complete. This show has a lot riding on it. A lot of money has gone into it, a lot of fan anticipation, myself included. Very much looking forward to seeing what this series is going to entail. I always try to go back and watch the original Lord of the Rings trilogy as much as possible. Just incredible films, incredible stories, and I just cannot wait to see what this trailer brings and what this series brings overall. Very much looking forward to seeing our first trailer and our first look at the Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power, upcoming series on Amazon Prime. Now, our second topic today, the 2022 Oscar nominations have been announced. Now, we're just going to touch on a few of the categories today, as there are so many, and then in a future podcast episode, we'll be doing our predictions video where we predict who we think is going to take home the Oscar in each respective category. Today, we're starting off with Best Picture nominations. For Best Picture nominations, we have Belfast, Coda, Don't Look Up, Drive My Car, Dune, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, Nightmare Alley, The Power of the Dog, and West Side Story. Now, out of this list, I've only seen Don't Look Up and Dune. I have a lot of catching up to do with regard to Oscar-nominated movies, so very much looking forward to catching up and seeing all these films. But moving on, Best Actor category, we have Javier Bardem, Benedict Cumberbatch, Andrew Garfield, Will Smith, and Denzel Washington. For the Best Actress category, we have Jessica Chastain, Olivia Colman, Penelope Cruz, Nicole Kidman, and Kristen Stewart. Also wanted to touch on the cinematography category, as a lot of these films are generally my favorite films throughout the calendar year. And seeing the list this year, I don't doubt that will be any different. Even though I've only seen Dune on this list, I'm very much looking forward to seeing a lot of these films that are included on this respective list. So with that said, the cinematography Oscar-nominated films this year are Dune, Nightmare Alley, The Power of the Dog, The Tragedy of Macbeth, and West Side Story. In terms of snubs this year, I did want to highlight one right off the top of my head that I could think of, and that's Jared Leto in House of Gucci. I definitely believe that his performance in that film should have garnered enough, and he definitely deserved a nomination for Best Supporting Actor for his role in House of Gucci. I'm sure there are plenty of other snubs that we could all highlight, as there are many each and every year. That is just one that I could highlight right off the top of my head that I thought of while looking over this list and originally seeing the nominations that came out. But as I said, stay tuned for our predictions that will be included in a future podcast episode where the Oscars take place. Now, topic number 3 today, the Book of Boba Fett. We've been recapping and reviewing the series so far as the episodes come out, and it's hard to believe that this series is actually over. 7 episodes just came and went like nothing, it feels like. While I believe that the finale did deliver overall, there were just so many individual storylines and individual concepts that were introduced throughout this season. I really knew that it would be difficult for the filmmakers to tie it all together, basically tie the whole story arc that was introduced this first season. I knew it would be difficult for the filmmakers to tie the overall story arc together in a cohesive 1-hour episode, especially for a big finale. In the episode, we see Grogu flying in on the X-Wing. He puts a Rancor to sleep to save Mando. Boba Fett duels one-on-one with Cad Bane. Cad Bane, we think he has upper hand, and then Boba Fett takes out Cad Bane. He kills Cad Bane. Yes, Boba Fett kills Cad Bane. Wow. Was not expecting that to happen, to be honest. Was maybe expecting Cad Bane to be wounded at most, but then to still live. He may still be alive, but I seriously doubt it after that. One question about someone's death that we still don't have any answers to, that I thought we would have answers to in the episode, but we didn't get. Another example of storyline where it keeps us guessing, but maybe that's what they want. I'm sure that's what they want. Is Cobb Vanth really dead? Timothy Olyphant's character we saw in the 6th episode of the Book of Boba Fett, when Cad Bane officially arrives on screen. He shoots Cobb Vanth, and we aren't sure, but he's definitely seriously wounded, but we aren't sure if he was mortally wounded or not. The 7th episode teases that he was, but also does not confirm it. So we are left to wonder. Will he return in Mandalorian Season 3, possibly Season 2 of the Book of Boba Fett, and or both? We'll have to wait and see. In terms of other questions that the finale left us with, is Boba Fett's business with the Pikes and or the Hutts really over? I doubt it. I doubt it. As the daimyo of Mos Espa, he's always going to have people after him, and that includes the Pikes, that includes the Hutts, I'm sure, and or any sort of mercenaries or assassins that they send after him. We also have to talk about how in the world did the political negotiator guy live throughout the entire series? How was he able to survive? I was sure, especially in the last episode, that he was a goner. I was sure when he came out to read that little tablet, Boba just set him up to, he's like, oh, he signs off, yeah, here, this is what I offer, and it's nothing. First of all, who doesn't check that beforehand? That's his own fault. But he walks out there, and I was sure that he was gone. But no, he somehow survives. But Cad Bane, no. Cad Bane cannot. But this guy, he's essentials for the story moving forward, I'm sure. So we'll have to wait and see what that brings. One thing we do know, and that we have seen from previous episodes, and that we have seen in this episode, is that Fennec Shand is a badass assassin. Single-handedly killed the Council of Spice Relations that we've seen throughout the entire series, took out the mayor of Mos Espa, the Pike Syndicate leader, and all the other lizard and amphibian looking gang leaders. I mean, unbelievable character. Now, one thing I did think of while watching this episode is they showed Fennec taking out all these leaders. However, then they simply cut away right after. Was that an order that Boba himself gave to Fennec? Or was that something that Fennec just took upon herself to do? It's an interesting question, and I think it's something to think about moving forward. Because if we can recall what the mayor originally said in the, I think, first episode, the first or second episode, be careful who you trust. Be careful who you place your trust in, especially those who are closest to you. You know, that could have been a reference to Fennec, possibly. And we see Fennec going off and possibly completing a rogue mission of her own. We don't know. We don't know. We did not officially see Boba give any orders. So, something to keep in mind for sure. And many other questions that this series has left us with. But very much looking forward to seeing what the future brings. And with that, leads us to our next topic. Sticking with the Star Wars talk today, topic number 4. The Obi-Wan series is set to debut May 25th, 2022. This upcoming May, we are officially going to get the Obi-Wan series that everybody has been waiting for. One of, if not the most anticipated Star Wars projects, I'd say, since the new trilogy. Now, a recent Screen Rant report reads, "It now seems that the Obi-Wan Kenobi's release window has been revealed at long last. The internet recently began buzzing when a Disney Plus employee tweeted and then deleted that Obi-Wan will be on Disney Plus in May 2022. This caused some confusion since Lucasfilm announced a new Obi-Wan comic shortly thereafter that also has a May release. However, sources then told The Hollywood Reporter that Obi-Wan Kenobi is indeed planned for a May release. And per Disney's social media on Wednesday, they released the first official poster for the upcoming series, releasing on May 25th. Super exciting. Hayden Christensen has returned for his role in the Star Wars universe, and it seems that based on the comments by Ewan McGregor at the panel, I believe at Comic-Con, that Hayden Christensen is going to have a core role in this series, not just a small little cameo. Now, we'll have to wait and see, but very, very excited for this series. Not at all sure what the story is going to be at all. All we know is that at the time that we last saw Ewan McGregor in the role of Obi-Wan, Order 66 had commenced, and just the overall state of the galaxy had fallen to ruin and slowly slipping into the grasp of the newly founded empire. And so I'm very much looking forward to seeing what this new Obi-Wan series will bring us. May 25th, not far away at all. Topic number 5 today. Recently attended AEW Dynamite in Atlantic City and also a taping of AEW Rampage at the same venue the same night. Unbelievable show. Absolutely unbelievable show. If you aren't aware of AEW, you have no idea what it is, definitely recommend you check it out. Every Wednesday on TBS and every Friday on TNT. Unbelievable show. Started off AEW Dynamite on TBS. MJF comes out on his throne, soaking in his win over at CM Punk in Chicago. Win in quotation marks, I will say. CM Punk comes out, demands a rematch, and MJF declares that the only way that CM Punk is going to get a rematch against him anytime, anywhere, is if that he and a partner of his choosing team up and defeat FTR later in that night. Now, before that, we saw Wardlow absolutely destroy the Blade. Inner Circle meeting held by Chris Jericho. Santana comes out, plays his incredible mic skills, breaks the fourth wall also, but looking at the camera while Jericho's dishing it back at him. Not to mention Keith Lee debuting. Unbelievable. Limitless Keith Lee, all elite. debuting in AEW last night, debuting in AEW Wednesday night. Unbelievable. Matt Hardy walked out in Private Party mid-match. FTR versus CM Punk and Jon Moxley. Incredibly fun match to watch. And last but not least, the Texas Death Match. What a hardcore match. Hangman Adam Page defending the AEW World title against Lance Archer, the Murder Hawk. This match from beginning to end was pedal to the metal, 100 miles an hour. Incredible spots. Adam Page hitting the buckshot lariat over top of the referee. There's so many spots to count. Absolutely incredible match. Hangman Page retaining his title. If you haven't watched AEW yet, definitely recommend tuning in each and every week for AEW and going to see AEW live when it comes to your city near you. Unbelievable show. Now, topic number 6 today. Netflix previews its biggest upcoming movies for 2022. Now, but today we're just going to talk about the movies on this list that I'm most anticipating. But I'm going to include the link to the article that includes the entire list. That way you can check out and compare and contrast your choices. Number 1, The Adam Project. Coming out March 11th on Netflix. Stranger Things producer Sean Levy's new film stars Ryan Reynolds as a time-traveling pilot who teams up with his younger self and his late father to come to terms with his past while saving the future. The movie also stars Zoe Saldana, Catherine Keener, and introduces newcomer Walker Scobell. And for any fans of 13 Going on 30, there's apparently a Mark Ruffalo / Jennifer Gardner reunion. Number 2, Windfall, releasing on March 18th on Netflix. Charlie McDowell directs his real-life spouse Lily Collins along with Jason Segel and current Academy Award nominee Jesse Plemons in a Hitchcockian thriller following a wealthy couple who arrive at a vacation home only to find it's being robbed. Next, we have Wendell and Wilde, from The Nightmare Before Christmas director Henry Selick, and written by Selick and Jordan Peele. This animated film follows scheming demon brothers Wendell, played by Keegan-Michael Key, and Wilde, played by Peele, who enlist the aid of a 13-year-old Cat Elliott, a tough teen with a load of guilt, to summon them to the land of the living. But what Cat demands in return leads to a brilliant, bizarre, and comedic adventure like no other, an animated fantasy that defies the law of life and death. Next, we have A Ghost. Freaky and Happy Death Day director Christopher Landon helms this spooky family adventure starring Anthony Mackie, David Harbour, Tig Notaro, Jennifer Coolidge, Isabella Russo, and more. Tagline for this film reads, "Finding a ghost named Ernest haunting their new home turns Kevin's family into overnight social media sensations. But when Kevin and Ernest go rogue to investigate the mystery of Ernest's past, they become a target of the CIA." Now, next on this list, and one of my most anticipated movies of this year, I had no idea it was coming out this year. When I originally heard about this film, just based on the cast alone and who's in it, I could not wait for this film. Spaceman. Chernobyl director Johan Renck proved that he can make dripping water feel like the absolute scariest thing in the world, and that's true. Now he's heading to space so that you can just imagine what is in store. The tagline for this film reads, and I quote, "An astronaut sent to the edge of the galaxy to collect mysterious ancient dust finds his earthly life falling to pieces. He turns to the only voice who can help him try to put it back together. It just so happens to belong to a creature from the beginning of time, lurking in the shadows of the ship." The movie is based on the book Spaceman of Bohemia, and the film stars Adam Sandler, Carey Mulligan, and Paul Dano. Cannot wait for this film. Next on the list, Hustle. This film is about a once-in-a-lifetime basketball player with a rocky past that is discovered by a down-on-his-luck basketball scout. The once-in-a-lifetime player is played by a real-life NBA player, Juancho Hernangomez, and takes it upon himself to bring the phenom to the States without his team's approval. Against the odds, they have one final shot to prove they have what it takes to make it in the NBA. The film also stars Queen Latifah, Ben Foster, Kenny Smith, and Robert Duvall. Next film on the list, Slumberland. In films like Constantine, I Am Legend, and The Hunger Games, Catching Fire, and Mockingjay Part 1 and Part 2, director Francis Lawrence has made a career out of exploring what nightmare scenarios truly do look like. Now, in this film, Slumberland, he's traveling to the root of the problem with this family-friendly film starring Jason Momoa, Marlo Barkley, Chris O'Dowd, and Kyle Chandler. Tagline for this film reads, and I quote, "A young girl discovers a secret map to the dream world of Slumberland, and with the help of an eccentric outlaw, she traverses dreams and flees nightmares with the hope that she will be able to see her late father again." Next on the list, Knives Out 2. Detective Benoit Blanc has a whole new list of suspects in this follow-up in Rian Johnson's 2019 whodunit hit. Joining Daniel Craig are Edward Norton, Janelle Monáe, Dave Bautista, Catherine Hahn, Leslie Odom Jr., Kate Hudson, Jessica Henwick, and Madeline Klein. Next on the list, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. Academy Award winner Guillermo del Toro is taking on a classic, and the cast is worthy of such a tall tale. Ewan McGregor, Tilda Swinton, Christoph Waltz, Finn Wolfhard, Kate Blanchett, John Turturro, Ron Perlman, Tim Blake Nelson, Bern Gorman, and Gregory Mann will all lend their voices to prove that Pinocchio is in fact a real boy. Next on the list, Apollo 10.5, a space-age childhood. Richard Linklater's latest epic tale is an animated story of a, quote, first moon landing in the summer of 2019 from two interwoven perspectives, the astronaut and mission control view. The astronaut and mission control view of the triumphant moment, and through the eyes of a kid growing up in Houston, Texas, who has intergalactic dreams of his own, end quote. Inspired by the filmmaker's own life, this snapshot of American life in the 1960s stars Glenn Powell, Jack Black, Zachary Levi, and more. Next on the list, The Bubble. Judd Apatow's latest comedy finds a group of actors and actresses stuck inside a pandemic at a hotel attempting to complete a sequel to an action franchise about flying dinosaurs. The ill-fated Hollywooders are played by a star-studded cast that includes Fred Armisen, Maria Bakalova, David Duchovny, Keegan-Michael Key, Leslie Mann, and Pedro Pascal. Very much looking forward to that film. Next on the list, Day Shift. J.J. Perry's directorial debut stars Jamie Foxx as a hard-working blue-collar dad who just wants to provide a good life for his quick-witted daughter, but his mundane San Fernandino Valley pool cleaning job is a front for his real source of income, hunting and killing vampires as a part of an international union of vampire hunters. The film also stars Dave Franco, Megan Good, and Snoop Dogg. Next on the list, The Gray Man. Avengers Endgame directors Anthony and Joe Russo bring us this adaptation of Mark Greaney's The Gray Man. When the CIA's most skilled mercenary, whose true identity is known to none, accidentally uncovers dark agency secrets, a psychopathic former colleague puts a bounty on his head, setting off a global manhunt by international assassins. And with that brings us to our last topic today. Again, just want to touch on the upcoming content that we're going to see on YouTube regarding movie reactions and gameplay videos. We're going to start off with some movie reactions regarding random picks that I have not seen yet, and then we'll be able to take your recommendations and add them to our list. In terms of gameplay videos, we'll be seeing us diving into the vast collection of retro games that I have. Picks will also start off random at first, and then we'll dive into any sort of recommendations that you guys have next. And with that, just about wraps up our last installment of the BMuz Reviews podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Musica. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at BMuz Reviews. Be sure to listen every week on Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcasts, and all other streaming platforms. If you're watching on YouTube, we thank you and ask you to like, leave a comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. That way you receive notifications that inform you exactly when our podcast goes live, as well as all other video content. We'll be back next Friday with another episode of the BMuz Reviews podcast, so stay tuned for more. And as always, in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.